carnal, he's weak in the mind, he's weak in the spirit. So what God did was allow him some experiences that would begin to build him and draw him to a place of maturity. So after leaving his uncle Laban's house, is really where we must understand that the story begins to start. It starts with him struggling now to produce a seed with the woman that he loves so much. It starts when he makes the decision that he wants now to begin to be confrontational with Esau. It starts when one night when he separates himself from his family, from his employees, from his children, from his associates, and from his very own self. The word of God begins to inform us that he finds himself in a wrestling match now with a stranger. He's in the fight of his life. He's in the battle of a tug of war. He's dealing with himself because every so often the you that you don't need to be will begin now to catch up to you. So we must understand now that Jacob is wrestling, and he's wrestling now until the break of dawn. And we learn that he's in a struggle now with a stranger. The word of God says that he holds on so very, very tight, that he holds on so convincingly, so convicted. And it's not so much that he was winning the fight, but what it really was, sufficient grace, that he was so convicted deep down and so convinced that this was his moment of a miracle, that this was his moment for the manifestation of change. He was so convinced within himself that God was getting ready to move him into higher levels and deeper dimensions. So the word of God says that he holds on. The word of God says that he struggles and he struggles. The word of God says and he does not let go. He refuses to let go. Sometimes, sufficient grace, you got to understand, though few we may be, make up in your mind that small acts cut down big tree. Sometimes you got to fight. Sometimes you got to begin to wrestle with life. Sometimes you got to stick in the hardship of the struggle. Sometimes we have to hold on to what it is that we believe, and hold on to what it is that we know is the truth. Sometimes we have to position ourselves simply to make up in our minds, to wrestle with ourselves. The Lord tell me to tell somebody tonight, when you wrestle this time, make up in your mind, not until he blesses me. I'm not going to let go. I'm a struggle. I'm a fight. I'm a push. I'm a force. I'm a survivor. I refuse in this season to let go. I'm a wrestle. I'm a wrestle with man. I'm a wrestle with woman. I'm a wrestle with boy. I'm a wrestle with girls. I'm a wrestle with family. I'm a wrestle with my friends. Now the least I can do is wrestle with God. Sometimes you got to make up in your mind, not until he bless me. I'm not letting go. I'm holding on to the unchanging hands of God. I'm holding on. I'm fighting like it's my last fight. I'm going to throw my blows. You may hit me down. Looks like I'm dead. Looks like I'm out. Looks like another love TKO. But I'm about to get up. I'm a survivor. A revival. The great God is in my life. Sometimes sufficient grace. You got to make up in your mind, not until he blesses me. This is what Jacob was confronted and challenged with. Evangelist Jones, this is where the situation and circumstance really starts. When he separates himself, he distances himself from family, from friends and colleagues, and he decides to be alone. And it is in his aloneness he's confronted with a stranger. He's met face to face with life, and he wrestles, and as he wrestles, the word of God lets us know that he refuses now to let go. The word of God says that he refuses to give in, because he knew within himself that the blessing was in the struggle. The blessing was in the fact that he had made up in his mind to fight. So the Bible lets us know that he fights now until the break of day, and as a result now he was granted his desires. He was gifted content with what it is that he needed and not necessarily what he wanted. He tells the stranger, Jacob looked at him and he said, look, I will not let you go, not until you bless me, not until you release into my life the very thing that I need, not until you promote me, not until you acknowledge that there's greatness in me, not until you bring confirmation to my legacy, not until you bring me to a dimension of change, and not just any change, a change that brings on prosperity, posterity, influence, and power. The word of God says, and the angel of the Lord, it gives him a prophetic declaration concerning his name. His name was intertwined, we must understand, with his identity. The word of God says that his name was Jacob, which is connected to trickery and skullduggery. But what God did was touch his character. Great God, I will preach right now. God touched his identity and gave him a new inheritance. Rather than calling him Jacob, God decided to call him Israel. And can I suggest to someone that Israel is defined as prince with God, peace with God. He goes to the brook of Jabbok and he finds himself going in one way, but great God, he came in leaving out the next way. God touched and shaped the very nature of who he is and how he found himself operating. He went to Laban's house as a thief. He went in as a jiver and as a conniver. He goes there stealing and lying. But can I suggest to someone that God has a plan for their life? I'm looking at one or two of you, and what you're focusing on in this season, in this time, and in this hour is your position now, your condition now. But your position in life does not determine your outcome. You may be in a mess right now. You may be in a rut right now. You may be going through financial dilemmas right now. You may be going through economic scarcity right now. You may be experiencing the backlash and the vicissitudes of life right now. But the Lord tell me to tell somebody, your now does not determine your later, because later will be greater. And later will be anointed. And later will be appointed. All you got to do is make up in your mind, I'm going to stand after having done all but to stand. I'm not going to remove. I'm going to be unfavorable, immovable, always abounding in the spirit of thanksgiving. I refuse to give up. I refuse to give